Cindy Rose, Walla County. So I want to talk about entrapment. Excuse me, starting off wrong, emplacement. All of us have some level of emplacement. We are tied to the land in varying degrees. Some of us are lucky enough to get to stay put. In German, it's Heimat. Very appropriate for my grandpa George Frederick von Gross. It's the opposite of feeling alien. Grandpa was an unpaid elected Walla fire commissioner. Not even sure they have those anymore. He was the opposite of political and probably always stepping in it because those darn guttural Germans. For me, it's even back to my 19th century great-grandma who had Ma's eating place just this side of Madame Dorion Bridge. It's been underwater since 1954. We paid out our dues with volunteerism and community connections. We got back as much as we gave. That's how healthy communities work. That's likely how your families work, and that's how my friends' families work. My family is not unique. We are the norm here. A lot of us are invested in keeping this county's community as healthy as it can. I'd argue our county doesn't want these data centers with its vague kind of promises way past the national 71% opposing data centers. We have long-term investments in the community, and we have investments in its long-term success. One thing healthy communities rely on is broad, encompassing, considered judgments. Lingered thinking is detrimental. We don't have broad considerations with the proposed Amazon data bill. We don't even have a code addressing data centers. Think broadly and do the moratorium thing now. I'm sure you're tired of seeing me, and I have better things to do on Mondays. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy.
Deborah Whitmore, Walla. Hello, Walla County Commissioners. My name is Deborah Whitmore. I'm a resident of Walla. Internet data is becoming increasingly important every day. I see no sign of stopping the trend of internet data. AI tools are incredibly powerful, and people spend so much time in front of computer screens that it becomes part of their identity. Whether we're just working, hearing news, sharing funny moments with our families, telling stories, or learning something new, social media is almost always involved. We engage with companies like Facebook, Amazon, and Microsoft, such that we are unable to imagine a world where we didn't exist. There is no sign of stopping, nor do we want it to. The urgency Amazon has shown to build their data centers before their river comes means they want it now, they want it cheap, and they want it easy. They even boast about how perfect the location is for a data center. The big tech companies don't want to compete for land because competition is expensive and slow. They don't want to explain downsides because resolving downsides requires money and time for research. They don't want to deal with more regulations because, again, it's slow. Every reason that Amazon wants to go fast is why we want to go slow. Now I lost myself. Creating competition gives us more negotiating power. We are the scarce suppliers of the demand. More time leads to stronger and clearer regulatory processes, more protection. More competition leads to more financial upside for our community. Wouldn't Meta or Microsoft want this piece of land just as bad as Amazon? Why was the land sold without a bidding process if the known intent was to build a data center? Amazon and other data center builders are funding their rapid and reckless expansion with bonds or loans without physical collateral. If Amazon cannot deliver on their loans, a financial bubble will pop. Amazon will use the threat of a bubble in leverage in favor of building the data centers, but this is circular reasoning. They're the party indulging in the tech boom while also creating the conditions of a financial bubble. We cannot be guilted. One way to prevent the bubble is to slow production, slow the flow of money, It is a global concern which we are now responsible for. We can incentivize Amazon's reckless behavior. It is better to sell the most expensive land with the most safeguards than rush in first. We must implement a 3-year moratorium on data centers exceeding 25 megawatts of power. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah.
Good afternoon, County Commissioners. My name is Allison Carney, and I live at 318 South Division Street. And I am here, as the shirt belies my point, to talk about the data center. So I've lived here for 8 years, and I'm not here to extol the information from the Earth Justice letter that you all received that talks about why there needs to be an environmental impact study on this data center. They speak about it much more eloquently than I ever will. I don't know if you're anything like me, but I read that information and I read RCW and everything. They're much smarter than I am. And I'm not an expert in data centers. Neither are you. Neither is probably anyone in this room or on the call. And it's really complicated. Everything I read is complicated. I read things that seem that they're contradictory and then maybe they're not. And that's really the big thing, that no one is really an expert on these things. They're all new. And I was so excited to learn that Bertha and Todd are both going to a training tomorrow about data centers in county communities. And I think that's wonderful. And the more information we have, the better. And that's one of the big problems being community members, that we don't get information. You know, we can come here, we can yell at you all you want, but y'all don't have to answer our questions. And that's really frustrating as a community member to have these questions, to continually ask them, to continue to come back here and spend our Mondays doing this, because I'm not an expert. You're not an expert. We're not experts. And the answers we get are not great, and they don't seem to make sense. And this decision is permanent. These decisions about the data center are permanent and will forever change the landscape of the Columbia River, of our county, of Burbank specifically, of all these places. And that's really scary to me, to think that all of you, it's on your shoulders to make this decision when you're not experts in something, when you are up against people with a lot of nice degrees, a lot of fancy schooling, that are paid to get you to think a certain way. So, and you're all well aware of that. I know that's not a surprise to any of you. But I really want you to think, and I know you think about this as elected people, you think about your legacy. You think about how you're gonna be seen, how your kids are gonna see you. All 3 of you have kids. Like, they look at your decisions and they take that to what they're gonna tell their kids, what your legacy will be in the future. And do you want your legacy to be a Morrow County? Do you want your legacy to be a Hermiston? Do you want it to be these places that have been decimated by these data centers in a lot of ways? And yeah, sure, there's some money coming in, but is it worth it? And what will your legacy be? So I know you're thinking about that, but this is a permanent decision that you're making. I hope you make it given the community in mind. I hope there's a time for you to answer questions and not just have us talk at you, because I would love those. So thank you. So I encourage an environmental impact statement and a moratorium. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison.